Okay, well, it's 7:04, I guess.
Did you forget your pen?
No, I got the check to move special right here.
The one okay. The one I brought.
I thought you forgot.
Is this yours? It's okay, I got another one.
Right, the agenda changed some as far as actually, for two of you, I've at least got one here, I forgot about that. I do have one if you'd like to share it. Got one of these extra, I just didn't think to make copies, it was a little bit fast and furious.
Yes, right. I talked to him before.
It's a little disjointed with some things we've got to talk about, and then we've got to pass some resolutions. So I may jump around, or at least we'll bring those up for that purpose. The first item is about election chargebacks. We've talked about that before. The Clinton County Supervisors passed a resolution as a group to pass a resolution requesting that the county respond favorably to our concerns with the cost of elections being passed on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, another unfunded mandate. We've had all that conversation. Our scheduled meeting in March was canceled. That was the day of the blizzard as things began to shut down, and I think that was Wednesday, Thursday morning, things were delayed starting. So we rescheduled for the county's April meeting. Offhand, I don't know the date. I want to say it's maybe the second Wednesday or something like that. I'd like to go in there. I know the town of Saranac has passed. We've brought this to the attention of the other municipalities, requesting as well as support this in our meetings. They all supported. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago. We had a very good turnout for that meeting, and they all were 100% concerned with this topic. And I'd like to bring ours in as a resolution as well, and I think that's one you have a draft copy of, a resolution in opposition to county election chargebacks to municipalities. Does everyone have that? If not, I'll make a copy. I don't know if Deb got that one in.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Two. You have that one, Jim? I don't know if it's in the back or the beginning. I don't know the sequence.
It wasn't way in the back.
It probably was in the back as a draft resolution. And we can go to it then, but here we are.
I'd like to see the Board of Elections added to the resolve, that a copy goes to them, particularly where we call them out that we've been working with them in partnership. So it's only.
So to the chairman and to the legislators?
Do we have a?
No, I'm talking about our chair members of the Board of Elections.
Okay.
To the office.
Oh, okay. Our election commissioners.
Yes,
At
thank
the
you.
bottom.
Good idea. So have you got that, Rick? We would add to the last resolve that a copy also be given to the elections commissioners.
So we're talking about passing this tonight to go in for the.
That's my request, yes. This would be resolution 108 if we agree to go there.
Is that, you checked that, 108?
It would be 108. It's up for discussion right now. It was in for draft later in the evening, but we might as well address it while we're here if everybody's in agreement. For the town, it's over $30,000 that we budgeted for 2014.
Right,
It's just gone up and up and up and up. I don't know what the end result will be.
The second resolved,
Yep.
Clinton County shall handle all budgetary items concerning charges for all state and federal elections. Now, it said charges should be included in future county budgets. And the acknowledgement the Board of Election staff has served the town professionally, promptly, and with the skills and specialized services shall not be reduced. Are we?
We had some sensitivity. This not be interpret it as any concern with the Board of Elections or our commissioners, that we really feel they work hard, they do a good job, they serve the communities very well, and we wanted to make sure and put something to that effect, or that to solve this problem, the legislature didn't think they would do so by reducing staff or hours there in any form. That was the intent of that.
Well, I would like to see in the first resolved, on the second line, request that the county legislators end this unfunded mandate. Take out ing and take out consider. Why give them the consider? We don't want them considering, we want them to end it.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that.
So read, request that the county legislatures end this unfunded mandate and remove the burden of, and it would, you have to change it to remove the burden.
Right. A little more assertive.
Oh, maybe, but I think we should be.
No, it is, Tom, that's good, that's a good suggestion. And certainly, we have Ricky bring it in, bring it to the table, as we read through, if you see something else, let us know and we can amend it. So I guess what I'm hearing is support to the extent of bringing it to the table. So Ricky, would you please read what we'll now call Resolution 108, a resolution in opposition to county election chargebacks to municipalities.
Where the town of Plattsburgh and other municipalities in Clinton County continue to face a number of physical challenges and have eroded their budget, causing stress within the municipalities. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board worked with the Clinton County Board of Elections to reduce the escalating cost of elections by consolidating voting districts that have created an adverse conditions causing lower voter turnout. And whereas in an effort to encourage more registered voters to participate in the elections, Help America Vote Act was passed to bring voting more accessible rather than burdensome, but significantly increase the cost of the elections. And whereas the Clinton County of Clinton has chosen to pass to the municipalities their costs for elections, creating an unfunded mandate for the town of Plattsburgh and all the towns of Clinton County. Whereas the chargeback process has made budgeting for future increases in elections unbearable and unnecessary, where the consideration is given to the fact that the municipalities have no authority or no jurisdiction with the process that is the function of Clinton County government and managed by the county department. Therefore, be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, with the best interest of all its residents in mind, request that the county legislature end this unfunded mandate and remove the burden of the county-wide elections from the town of Plattsburgh and all other municipalities in Clinton County. And it be further resolved that the Clinton County shall handle all budgetary items concerning chargebacks for all the state and federal elections, and that said charges be included in further county budgets. And it is acknowledgement that the Board of Election staff has served the town professionally, promptly, with the skills and specialties they are. Service shall not be reduced, and it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy be given to Clinton County legislators and election commissioners.
To the Clinton County Legislative Chairman and Election Commissions, just to be sure, because there's quite a difference there. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Manick, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman. Any discussion?
In the second whereas, the town worked with the Clinton County Board of Elections to reduce the escalating cost of elections by consolidating the voter districts that may have created adverse conditions.
So it may have created adverse conditions.
And
You
needs to
take
come
the
out.
and out.
Yep.
Okay. And I believe it did. I don't say that it may, I think it did create difficulty for.
I think that's part of why I put it in there, Tom, but I think it would be hard to prove without a shadow
Okay.
of reservation. just in case we're challenged on
How,
that.
just on the cost, how is the cost is separated out? If we have an election next year and we're gonna have an election next year for council person here.
Mhm.
Now, let's say there's a countywide election at the same time. Let's say there is, so it's county and town election at the same time. How do we segregate those?
We don't,
They charge, we pay for it all anyway.
right now, we pay for it all. The proposal is the county would pay for all costs for all elections.
But that's not what it says. It says removing the burden of countywide elections.
Right, could be interpreted as just elections for county positions is what you're saying, right? The thought was that it would be all
Right,
elections
I
in
think
the
that, I think
county.
that's what you wanted, yeah. I'm just
So we
saying, but
need
here
to
you're just saying
clarify.
the burden of countywide.
Where is that,
Why
Jim?
don't, why don't, in
It's in
the
this-
first resolve,
First resolve.
and it's the same one that I was changing, but I forgot that part. Remove, so just remove the burden of elections from the town of Plattsburgh.
Everyone comfortable with that, I am? Take
Is that o-
county
is that
and
okay,
wide out?
Jim?
And so the city wouldn't pay for theirs either, is that correct?
Correct,
Correct.
So all election expense would be handled by the county?
correct.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So, in other words, change that one line to say, remove the burden of elections, just cross off
Yep.
countywide.
Countywide, cross. Just for the record, I guess, projected in the 2014 budget for the city of Plattsburgh, it's $215,922.
Do we get them to pass, do they join us in this?
I haven't, until this moment, of course, all this has evolved before we had our meetings. I will be speaking to the mayor tomorrow about this.
The other thing,
The second to, excuse me, Tim.
Go ahead. no, you go.
The second to last resolve, Bernie, do we need to say and the local elections after the word federal? Resolved, the county of Clinton shall handle all budgetary items concerning charges for all state, federal, and local elections, and that said charges shall be included in future budgets.
I think that's a good idea also. I would rank them though,
Yeah, local, state,
local,
federal.
state, and federal.
Yeah, put local first.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Clarity, 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 thank you.
Um, we've already cut back election districts, but the cost is basically the same, because I hire 3 people for each one, whether they're here, or whether someone else. And there's too many people here, if we have an election when people actually do come and vote, which will happen.
Yeah.
with
The
state
savings
election.
were minimal, and I think I vividly recall you, Tom, speaking to that when we made the decision, that you were very concerned. I recall very much my thought of, my God, it's 2 miles for some people, it's less for some. But it's habits, it's comfort, it's being in your comfort zone. I think I would guess it did impact the turnout for the voters in the town of Plattsburgh. One of my concerns with the second whereas was, in the event the county chose to accept this, and we were suddenly to decide to go back to the number of districts and all the locations we had, I wouldn't want being perceived as, now they're paying the bills, so we, pile a little bit on. There's a reason we would do that. If the county does it, or if the town does it, we need to address that. I totally agree.
Well,
The savings wasn't
we
huge.
need, if nothing else, you need to have another location for 1 or 2 of the 4 that you have in here. You just,
We don't have the parking here to adequately serve. I mean, we did not have a crush of
Well, if we see,
voter turnout with a gubernatorial election. I would think we'll have a.
A strong turnout would be,
Yeah, when the size of the parking lot here
Yep.
on this side.
well, a lot of our election locations, to be quite honest, if we see a swell of people, it can be,
especially Treadwell's Mills, that's pretty small.
hard.
Yeah.
Carmel and Ed?
But some of those people walk.
Yeah.
If the day.
I know, I
weather's
realize
cold.
that, but I mean, keeping it all in perspective though, it's not just limited to one location, it's several.
Right.
Yep.
I personally feel
Come on,
we
Ed,
shouldn't
more
have
parking
taken
at the church.
election
and then have
districts
a
away from where they
fire
are, and that should be one of the things that's brought up when we do this.
Yeah, I think we need to address that either way, really, which will raise the cost of
But,
elections.
but
a little.
the cost of elections, to a great degree, are because they made this federal primary separate from the other primaries, and we end up having to staff all of these places for one race.
Yep.
which is
Unfunded mandate,
ridiculous.
unfunded mandate, goes on and on and on.
You know, it's not, if they say, well, it's because you have so many districts, it's not, it's all those other mandates that's what's caused this, the change of the voting machines, the paper that costs, and having to have a federal primary separate from all the other primaries. This is what's ridiculous. And I think that's the things that, and hopefully the county can address some of these things.
Well, if I were a county legislator, and ironically in Essex County, where supervisors are the county legislators, they are the county, make up the county board of elections, they also pick up the cost of elections for the county. Even though those elected officials would really have the option to take it from the county and push it on their municipality. They chose the direction that we feel would be best. I know there'll be some issues with, well,
They do it in
it's
Franklin,
all
They do it in
Franklin too.
Franklin County picks up the cost of the elections, they don't pass it back.
Well, there's models out there, and now we're
Yeah.
There are many
tossing it to the
models out
county
there.
and saying, figure it out.
But as far as the dollars and the idea that it all comes out of the same, hand, really isn't true. There's a significant difference in these budgets. And if that's the case, then I would propose when the sales tax breaks, I think it's the $27 million benchmark, or maybe it's 17, I lose a million here and there. But we've continued to break that line, and the county keeps another 10% of the sales tax. Well, there's some found money that we've generated a significant part of, that could easily cover these costs, far in excess of anything we get out of that. Our sales tax goes down as soon as they kick up their 10%. But that really wouldn't be our problem. I do think there are ways it could be done, and it shouldn't go back on the property owners by the county either. We've done a number of, I think, good improvements to this resolution. Is there anything else?
With all those changes, I think it's good.
As amended, then, a roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes,
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, and Mr. Renner is absent. Resolution carries. I will follow up with the change. I'll be sure to get a copy to each of you, so you've got one. And we will follow up. I'll carry this in. When I meet with the legislature, I want to talk to Joe Girardi a little more about that. We don't want to do a gang up on them, but we'll see.
you most definitely want to do a gang up on.
Well, initially, they don't have us meeting with the entire legislature, maybe with just the finance committee to start. So we'll see how that changes.
So we all go.
Well, I'll stay in touch.
All the supervisors do
I'll stay in touch. Certainly would like to see some of them, absolutely, because it
Absolutely.
shouldn't just be a town issue. And the mayor, I look at the cost to the city, that's a huge amount of money, and I suspect he'd want to join us. The next item, just to make you aware, Ricky's done his part to get the letter and the reminders out to the 3 junkyards in the community, so I would expect to see that come up very early in April. The next item you have is
Are we in compliance this year, you think?
Stevie hasn't sent anything to me, and nobody's replied to the letters that I've sent out yet.
Okay.
I sent them out on the 10th, so.
Waiting for some snow to melt.
Probably.
But Stevie has all the paperwork that I've given to him.
I mean, until we get the report from the codes
Right.
officer, his
Yeah.
inspection, nothing happens. You won't even see it until then.
Oh.
The next item is the collective bargaining union agreement. I mentioned earlier, this is the compiling of the existing document that expired 12/31/13 and the MOU. We spent a little bit of time going through page by page, all the notes and everything. I think there is a legitimate reason to have a document, even though it's a one-year agreement. Then we've got a single document to look at rather than go back to one that's expired, try to take the MOU notes and push them into the various articles. We've done that in this. I think it'll make,
So those are the changes you're talking about?
the changes in the one that expired 12/31 are the changes that were agreed to that you all passed by resolution with the MOU. The union's belief was that probably their business agent and the supervisor could just sign this because you already passed the resolution prior on the MOU, and I said no. This is something, a document that I think every board member should sign, as well as the stewards for the shop. They've given me one name. I will probably add the others in, which is why there are some blanks on their side. I think it's our employees that we've negotiated this with that should take some ownership of it and not let it be a supervisor, business agent document. It's difficult to do. I mean, we sat there, myself and Pat, with Rachel's notes, the MOU, my notes, Pat's notes, and with the union, turned page by page to make sure the draft that was done was the right one, and the draft that was done went through some changes. This expires 12/31/14, and we do need to get at this fairly soon. As you know, there's another action going on. As far as I'm concerned, there's no more discussion now that it's gone formal. And I'm not sure what impact that will have on negotiations for another agreement.
On page 24, says that's the wages and longevity top job rates as follows. I'm assuming that that was freeze, that's the same as the previous year? But I
Yes.
thought we said that no one would get a raise.
No
so
one
it wouldn't
does,
Go
and-
up a step.
Yep, Article 27 is kind of an interesting one, Tom, because this list of job rates for each title is the same as it was in 2013. And we spent a couple minutes on that and agreed to put 2014 there because we all agreed the job rate didn't change, it stayed the same. The concern is that the new employees who weren't on job rate were paid at an amount less than. They accepted their position at an amount $3 less than the job rate, with the idea that each year, for 3 years, they got a step to take them to job rate. There have been negotiations in the past where there was a breakdown. There were no salary changes, especially in negotiated agreements between educators and school boards, and the step is included in the following year while negotiations for salary changes are ongoing. We didn't say we were doing that. There are times when all salaries are frozen and there are no increases. We don't have a written step, but we have one that's very clear with verbiage, $3, $2, $1 step. The argument is that was exclusive from Article 27, where all the people on step. I believe we were all in agreement, and I think those negotiating were in agreement, that nobody got a raise. Nobody met everybody. Didn't mean nobody except those that were still in a
That-
step.
Was not, in the MOU?
That's what's being challenged. The MOU is basically what's in front of you, those are the salaries. There was
Okay, so
nothing
this is
about
it.
a
This
step
is it.
increase.
You said you had made some changes
The change,
based on what people said at this meeting.
well, to make sure that the document included what we agreed to in the MOU. In the MOU, we agreed that in 2014, the job rate would be the same. So in Article 27, we put 2014 next to the 2013 rate. So it's the same for both years. That is what we agreed to.
Right, but the increase in the, from, that's the top job rates. But we froze the other job, the ones below it as well, right?
I really
Did
couldn't,
people go up $1?
we didn't increase anybody's salary for any reason unless we had an employee that got a promotion, those who worked overtime, and that language is in there, was in the MOU somewhere to make sure they realize that if the hourly employees worked more hours, they would get more salary.
What about the longevity chart on page 25? How does that impact the longevity chart?
Longevity is still paid out.
Okay,
That's a benefit.
okay, well, I'm just,
Yep.
clarification.
Yep. Anybody who earned longevity would receive that check in 2014. Some of, I guess anything further, Tom, about the details and understanding,
Yeah.
I would hesitate because
Right.
it's now
Negotiation time.
in a process.
Bernie, I do want to bring one thing up that I noticed, and we can put this for an editorial as we renegotiate the contract in the future, but I would like to see, make sure that it's at least in concert with our employee handbook on page 40. Our non-discrimination clause is not
40 or
identical. It's page 20, but it comes from our employee
Oh.
handbook. It is not the same non-discrimination clause. It's missing marital status, it's also missing military status. And personally, I'd like to see gender identity included in it as well.
That's not in there?
Marriage status,
No,
military.
are you talking about which is in which? The-
The military status and marriage status are missing from the contract,
They're in here.
so
Well, no,
That-
military status isn't.
they're not.
It's
On
not
page
the
20.
same as page 40, you said
On
in the
page
handbook?
40 from the employee handbook, it's not the same.
Yeah, they need to coincide, they need to be identical.
Yeah.
One of the things that you might want to start doing as soon as you're able, if indeed we agree to sign off on this, is take your copy and begin to read through and make notes just like that. And we'll need to get those to Rachel, and things like that is just language. I can't imagine what's to be negotiated, it just needs to be cleaned up, it's housekeeping. You can't have contradictory agreements. Any other discussion on what this is and how it evolved and what we're doing?
Well, I think that surely we should sit down and overall look at what we think we want to do for the future. And
That was one of the reasons.
what are the
I-
other
yeah.
repercussions of doing different types of things?
That was one of the reasons I agreed to this. Initially, I thought the MOU affixed to what we had before would be sufficient for 1 year, but this really gives us something that's very compact to read like you've always done and begin to find the pieces that need attention, rather than work through two different documents and notes and all that. I think there's value.
Up until you sat down and put this together, the MOU was on the same one that was what we
Correct.
agreed to. Now, I don't think we got a new copy after it was finalized.
You had the one with the resolution that you
Right.
adopted the MOU.
We had that. So that's the MOU period.
Yeah, but there were some things in the MOU that said, Article 4 subsection C will change if to then, therefore, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you hadn't done it. It's, unless you put it
Well, I
together,
just
you
wanna
don't
make sure,
see
because
it.
you know how I do, I go through all that to make sure it
Yep.
says it.
Yep.
Just wanna make
Okay,
sure.
that's discussion on this. I know I've got a resolution for later, so I'm just gonna put that aside until we get to the resolution.
A resolution on this?
Yes, if you want to do that tonight, or I'll put it in for the public session, which will, the next one be the first Monday in April. We do not have a meeting next Monday, so that's your call tonight. If you want to pass that tonight, or if you want it to sit, I won't argue or persuade either way. The union was kind of hoping we would do that last week, and I said, not without a resolution. The next meeting would be Monday, April 7th. We can go back through that in a little bit, a few minutes. Adopt a flower bed. Mr. Cashman has proposed a project. You've all got a copy of it. Thoughts, comments, discussion?
I like the idea. It's good to have somebody bring in some ideas that we didn't think of before.
In general, you know, the reason that I'm bringing this forward is I think it's a win-win-win type of scenario. Certainly, I think that getting some of the organizations locally, it builds community pride at no cost to the town. I had some very kind of soft conversations with some of the organizations in the community to see if they'd be willing to, you know, participate by purchasing the flowers and upkeeping them. Many of these organizations ready to adopt a highway and things like that. We have 5 signs. It allows us to kind of do a soft approach, and there might be other areas of the town that we want to implement something like this. Savings to the town and participation. The one thing that I do see, you know, costing any money is a small sign, and I compare it to my grandmother's garden that has where she used to have her herbs and things like that. You could stencil the civic organization's name on it, that we could do very inexpensively, because that's not the dominant feature of it. And whether it be Kiwanis, whether it be Girl Scouts,
It's a nice promotion for that civic group too, to have their logo on something.
Yeah. And the way that I would see doing this is that if you're in favor of this, I'll put together a more formal application, and then we can do a press release. But we would do a lottery to be equitable in our approach. We only have 5, so if we have many more organizations that want to do it, they put in their application, we put their names in a fishbowl, we pull it out. You know, it's that simple, and then we do an assignment.
But we could establish more flower beds so that we take care of these. I think that would be good.
We have a couple around the town hall, if
So-
anybody was looking for work. I think it's a good idea. Under Town of Plattsburgh will provide, I don't think it would hurt us to say some tools and materials if needed. I mean, if there was a group that really didn't have the resource to buy 5 bags of mulch, it wouldn't hurt us to buy the mulch that we were gonna buy anyway. If they're willing to do the work and maintain it and weed it and water it. Thoughts on that, Mike?
I think there's the possibility, I know in speaking with some of the groups, that it's a point of pride that they'd be willing to participate, you know, at all costs of the organization. So I'd like to start there and see how we can move forward.
The other thing on signs, I think the county highway department provides the Adopt a Highway signs. And I don't know how they do it, but they get the service organization's logo on these things. They might be able to do a nice
Medallion.
little medallion or something for us as well. I can check into that if you want.
Sure.
Okay. I'd say by the silence, the idea is for Mike to go forward and put this in some sort of final format, and I will get to Mike about the signs with the organization's logo, which I think is...
Well, I don't think it should be silenced.
Nice.
I did say I was in favor of this, yeah.
Ernie, some of these are on state highways, will they make signs?
I'd rather ask the county.
I mean, I don't know, but some of them are, so.
County might do it for us. I don't even know if you go to fix it.
If not, I mean, our shop crew, I'm sure, could make a small wooden sign that, you know, we can affix their name to it. So
Anyone
again,
could probably
low
produce
cost.
that in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, you know,
Yeah.
the scouts might even be willing to do it as part, you know, part of it. There's so many different avenues to do this. to build a sense of community. And if you see it, it's a hot topic that the city just had an article talking about this, so.
Actually, the organization, they have their own medallion they'd like to stick in there, so that may be a non-issue. I think it's a good idea as well. So, we thank you for that. To be continued. Informational meetings. Today I went through my calendar and I put these in just to make sure they were in, to make sure they fit, to look for conflicts. One of the changes I made is for, I modeled what we had done on April 28th. We expanded these a bit, but I used that for the other three, where we would start at 6:30, and the start sites have tended to be very low, if any turnout at all. Be at those sites for about 45, 50 minutes, depending on the drive, and then go to the next one for a start at 7:30. So they'd be consistent, starting at 6:30 and starting at 7:30.
Have you gone through this with Mel?
Yes.
As to whether there's any meetings?
She actually, Erin, I think, actually did our agreement. You know how we've been talking to them about making sure there's no free lunch? And they've generated a $400 bill for us to use the recreation parks, and we want to make sure that we do our $10 deposit for the keys.
One of the things you might want to do on this, if it's going to get published, I'm not positive, but I think Catherine Hayes is with a C, not a K.
I don't remember.
Just thinking.
Yep, we will check on that.
I would also recommend adding our website to publications to these, if there's no additional cost in letters.
Absolutely. That should
That's
be
where
on everything.
that's where the resources are for these meetings.
Absolutely. All these times we looked at that, never saw that. Actually, I looked at the dates and the times and the locations much more than I looked at the text at all. Did anyone see anything of any concern with that? This is boilerplate.
And I think, Bernie, it would make sense to, you might talk to Dan. You know, I think it might make sense to revisit the concept that, you know, we're taking these out to the, you know, to the hamlets, and having the town meeting type setup in each of those hamlet areas.
Seems to me the majority of the people were asking about highway, if I recall.
Would you like me to do a press release and blast it out to all the media?
Yeah, if you decide, sure. If that's what you decide to do, but I think, I think you should get, you know, I've been struck, for example, when we went to Cliff Haven the last, in fact, I think it was the last 2 years, in both instances, we were asked, they didn't know that the meeting was happening. Yeah, and it was like.
It was in the paper. I mean, we always put it in the paper.
Yeah, but I just don't think that there was much publicity.
Yeah. That's why I think if I do a press release, we might get a little airtime and some other
Whatever.
outlets.
Sure.
I think one of the things that we can do is each of us as liaisons to a fire department, is that this could be printed and be given to each of the fire departments to be hung in their location. I mean, again, more of us to circulate, you know, the information and to encourage participation at these meetings is, I think, more than appropriate. You know, I think of Brian's store up from Arnett. You know, there's meeting locations that very regularly shopkeepers are willing to have a post of literature and say, hey, you know, there's a petition, you know, blah, 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 sign this, or hey, here's this local information going on, so.
Brian will actually put it in your bag when you
Exactly.
buy something.
And there's lots of folks. I mean, there's I can't think of the business, but going up near the Katyville Park, the gas station, and, you know, and a wide variety of locations. You know, I think of the places people have to go.
There's a little newspaper in Cliff Haven, for example, that you could,
Yeah, if this gets finalized, I can tell Zane and he'll get into the Cliff Dweller.
Well, we need to finalize it ASAP so we can do these things. I don't see, I would guess we can change the orientation to landscape and just pop this out pretty much as is. Maybe we can get a, or even leave it this way and get a town logo, or maybe get a logo on each corner, our medallion, so it dresses it up a
Bernie,
bit.
did you say that you were gonna be 6:30, 7:30 on all the double ones?
That's my recommendation, yes.
And then 7 o'clock still for June 23rd?
No. Yeah,
That's at Catherine Hayes.
no, I didn't even pick up on that. That should be 6:32.
Oh, I thought you said it was 6:30.
And Monday,
I changed
June
all the
23rd at
seven.
Town Hall will be 7:30.
Right. So they all begin at 6:30. The first site, second site begins at 7:30. So there's consistency.
Well, you've got only one at 7:30, the rest over at 7:45.
That's what I said. Well, I suggest changing that to 7:30.
Yeah, so it's
So
all
it's
6:30,
all
all
6:30
7:30.
and all
All 6:30 and all 7:30, okay.
So they're consistent.
Just easy.
Mike, you raised the point the last time we were here, Mike raised the point of adding that 15 minutes so that we would be able to devote close to an hour at the first location before leaving for the second location.
We have a full 45 minutes now. It's 15 more than we did before. And if you look at that first site, that tends to be the shorter one. That's where we've really had, again, few, if anybody, show. And Catherine Hayes is a brand-new addition, so that'll be interesting.
So are we staying with the times that we have here, with the Catherine Hayes time being 6:30 and the town hall being 7:45?
7:30. They're all 6:30 and 7:30. Consistent.
That's what's on yours, or you just changing it?
Changing them to be 6:30 and 7:30. And adding the town's website on the bottom in the middle.
So are you're changing Monday to June 23rd to 6:30 on the first one?
They're all starting at 6:30.
And the second meetings are all
7:30.
7:30.
Yep. And I will check on Catherine Hayes.
I would take that statement at the very bottom out, because I think it just serves to confuse.
Mhm.
You're citing where these meetings are and the times of these meetings, and then you get into talking about the times of the regular time, and I just think that confuses.
Yeah, sure. I think less is more anyway. In this case, you just want to know what and where.
Yep,
Right.
You don't need a
But
lot of
leave your
verbiage.
voice in.
Everybody in agreement with that?
I think leave your voice is important, and
Yeah.
then, you
Let's
know,
continue.
let's continue to work for the future of the town and have the website.
Yeah, so take out just board meetings are held in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
and this should be posted on the door of town hall too.
Mhm. Well, once we redo this, we'll add some graphics. We get something that looks decent, we'll print a bunch, make them available, put some in everybody's mailbox,
you could,
drop them at the mom and pops.
Yeah, perfect.
you could leave in, the board meetings are held the first and third Monday. These are following that, aren't they? No,
No,
no.
I like your other idea.
Yeah, excuse me.
Take it all out. We'll just put in your voice and opinion are important. Let's continue to work together future town of Plattsburgh.
Yeah, go on, larger print than that.
Yep. Okay, so we're in agreement there. We will get this ready to go. I guess what I'm saying is I'll do a press release. I want to think through that a little, but also make sure that it does get into press. Okay. Maybe the Vermont News would really like this. They do a lot with town meetings.
I don't think we
But
did.
not on this side
And
of
I'll
the
make
none of
a
this
further
side,
comment.
I don't
I
think
noticed in
so.
Vermont, they were having some concerns with increased cost of flood insurance, but apparently not in New York because that wasn't on the news today.
Yet.
And if you read the newspaper, of course, New York is being hit equally, equitably. Okay, website, town board. Oh, I almost said what was on. Did I give you notes? Yes. I've spoken with Dave Kimmel about posting on our website the tape of our meetings. And actually, think we should consider work sessions as well, because it seems more and more the discussion about a resolution takes place here. The discussion of ideas takes place here. And we've done all that, and we kind of formally go through passing a resolution. There might be a comment or two, but it may look like there was no real thought
Exactly.
given to what we're voting on. Our website, and I think I forwarded to you a link to what that would look like. Our website host won't do this. We just, the browser can't cache enough of the video. It would have to be done in segments, it may have to be compressed. It's complex. If you're gonna make it complex, people aren't gonna look at it. It should be very simple, click, play. We can do that, and you can see the parameters he has. 8 to 10 videos would remain online for a cost of about $10 a month. And this is going through another host, so another browser, so it's a point and click and play, like the one I sent you. We can go up to 25 videos for about $25. And so on, as Dave said. There's a little work that goes with that, which he has offered us a flat fee of $75, which is a very good deal. And you've had time to look at this, I don't know what your thoughts are. Mine are, we should keep a little bit of a history on there. And if we're going to do regular meetings and work sessions, I think we should look at the 25 videos for $25 and the $75 a month to do it.
Artie, I still insist that we use YouTube. YouTube is a free service. It increases web identification and visibility of a community. It's one of the largest search social media engines. You can brand it at no cost. The other part to it, just like the town historian, we went with a free blog to reduce costs. I appreciate Dave, looking in this. I certainly think there needs to be a link off the town's webpage. You can embed YouTube videos too if he wanted to really jazz it up, but at minimal I think we should have our own YouTube channel, because if we have a press conference, if we have other types of events, we should be providing lots of information to folks. That's just my my perspective, and I think we can very easily update that those materials, whether it be an intern, whether it be, I don't want to throw work your way, Ricky, but there's different pockets in our town office that I think could very easily get that information up there.
My only concern, and I'll share with YouTube, I'm not a YouTube person. If I've watched things on YouTube probably more times than I realize. When somebody has some cute whatever on Facebook, I would guess it's YouTube that I'm using to view it. I don't know. But YouTube is also synonymous to a lot of things that I don't want to be linked to. And I don't want somebody going to see my YouTube meeting and easily ending up in a spot where we're all going to wish they didn't. I don't see that as a good resource for something that's professional, that's municipalities would use.
I would argue against that fact that SUNY Plattsburgh is using it. I mean, there's lots of other state
Really?
agencies that are using YouTube.
I wasn't aware of that.
So there's mechanisms in place that you can, buffer some of that material, certainly, but it gives optimal flexibility and really gets to the heart of making sure that we're not spending past our means. I mean, if there wasn't another alternative, if it was a sole source type of thing, I'd be like, yeah, look, we need to get this in the public's eye, but to me, there's alternatives, and like you said, you probably actually are watching YouTube videos more than you know, when you go to someone's webpage, because they've done an overlay to it, and it's really kind of, embrace the
Costs
the
nothing.
model. Yeah,
It
exactly,
costs nothing.
exactly.
It costs time to upload and download.
Yep.
Lots and lots of time to do that. But it costs nothing.
Well, time is a cost, I don't know.
But
You have to
but
put the thing in and wait for, and start it, and then walk away and let whatever computer it's being done on. It might take it 4 hours, it might take it 10 hours, it depends on how big your,
Really?
it depends on how big your, if you're doing high def or you're not doing high def or whatever.
But I would argue it's not any different than what Dave is gonna be providing us through his service. Maybe Dave still does it, but I think that the channel that we use though is YouTube.
That would at least save the
So-
hosting of this thing.
And it
So-
could be done overnight. You can put the thing in, walk away, go to bed, next morning come into office and it's done.
Well, it's on YouTube anyways.
Pardon me?
The meetings are on YouTube anyways.
What do you mean they're on YouTube? You have to put them there. They're on my camera.
Right, yeah.
And then we
So
don't.
you're posting on YouTube.
We upload them, we download them and then upload them, and then they're on YouTube, and then when you click, that's where they are. But you see them on our
It
website.
doesn't look like you're going to YouTube.
No, it doesn't, no.
No, because.
That's exactly what Michael's saying.
That makes me, okay, well, let me
So,
pursue that.
Michael, when
I'm not
when you
aware
go
of
to
We
it,
don't have that list of.
just type in something.
No, yeah, none of that
Top
YouTube
Plattsburgh,
stuff on the
Okay.
side.
Bernie?
and get it?
What was that, Tom?
Well, if you go into the YouTube, to get the Town of Plattsburgh thing, you just type in something like Town of Plattsburgh
Yeah,
meeting or
and,
something?
and the other part to it is, as I think I told a couple of you, a couple of my professors, a number of years ago, was doing, was making the association or the correlation between your community's online identity with economic development. Because a lot of businesses, when they're looking to develop in an area, they want to see the online presence. What other shops, does the folks in government play well with one another, a variety of things. A lot of time and energy goes into investigating people. I mean, businesses are doing it now with students that are graduating. They're checking their Facebook to see what pictures they have on there. So web identity is very important in that aspect.
I think, Tom, and that's where my head was, but I guess not, no. You probably could go to YouTube and dig out the town's stuff, but people wouldn't do that. They'd go to our website, and we would have a place on the homepage, maybe in the clerks where we do this other stuff, and it would say town board meeting, so you just click on it.
Exactly.
And that's all they would ever see. They wouldn't see
And
any
then
of
it
the
would just go right to the
YouTube options.
the one that,
If
You'd
you
go right to a play.
You can't see it well. If you want, I can send it down, but SUNY Plattsburgh has branded their page with a photo of Hawkins. So when you go there, you very visibly know that this is the SUNY Plattsburgh page. They've maintained links. They also link it back from YouTube. So say a person starts at YouTube, that you can put a link in
Tags,
there
there's
and
tags.
tag it back to your own webpage and stuff like that. So it really optimizes the ability for us to communicate.
and it's the same as with this, nobody can change it without,
Correct. There's an admin. I mean, you could have multiple admins to things,
No, nobody can.
Your tapes, Rick, are on a SanDisk?
Yeah.
So we could load those in a computer, start the upload and
Go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Next morning you come in done.
so maybe what we need to do
Then you
is
gotta
have
upload
Dave
it.
teach us how to fish
Sure.
instead of
Yeah,
giving
well-
us fish. I will talk to him further about that. I mean, that all sounds good to me.
You just take that.
My concern, and I made that comment earlier to Dave, was it's a budget item. It wasn't in the budget. That resolves any of my concerns with being affiliated with YouTube, which is affiliated with a lot of things. Anyone else have any other discussion? Let me get a little more information, I'll bring it back to you, going down that path. Summer beautification program hirees. You're going to have the traditional seasonal draft resolutions. These will show up in April on the 7th to do a hire. I pulled them in the beginning of this, and I'll pull them back to drafts as well, because I had a concern. If you look at either one of them, look at Mr. Rosette's, and I spoke with Art today, by the way. Art is feeling very good about the progress he's made with his expanded duties. He feels that he's ahead of schedule with meeting the needs of the parks. And he expressed to me that he doesn't think he'll need as large of a crew this summer, which would be very good. The thing that caught my eye today on this one, and I told Art he did as would be appropriate, I guess. For example, Elston would have normally come back to us in the 2014 season at a salary of $10.50. 2013, his salary was $10.25. My opinion is it should be $10.25 in 2014. We can't give seasonal people an increase any more than we did anybody else. I assume everybody would be in agreement, but I wanted to bring it to you before I just changed it.
Is that the same as the other one?
The other one would be the same. The other is slated to start at $8.50 in the resolution, and last year was $8.25. This year should be $8.25 as well for all the same reasons. Everybody in agreement with that?
Yep.
If so, I'll make those changes. When they come to you, we're not acting on these tonight.
Does that meet minimum wage standards? I thought minimum wage was, maybe I'm
I think it's still above minimum.
wrong. Okay, just,
Eight is.
I just knew it changed recently, I just couldn't remember
Yeah.
offhand what that
Now,
amount was.
these are being hired by the, maintenance.
These would be hired by Art now, working building and grounds to do parks.
But he's hiring the
beautification.
same
Same
people
people,
that
do the same things.
hired in the same,
Yep.
to do the same type
Only,
of,
only we think fewer of them this year,
which is good.
which is good. So I'm gonna pull those toward the back, and I just wanted to bring that into discussion. So if someone asks, that's the way it's been for a number of years, but that's not the way it is in 2014. Next, recognition, President's Award. Mike had shared with me the fact that Jeff Santor, Chief South Plattsburgh, received the Clinton County President's Award, Clinton County Firemen Association's President's Award. In the past, we've acknowledged the recipient of that award by resolution, and we do a nice letter, which I've already drafted the letter. You'll most likely see that when we do the resolution, which would be April 7 as well, okay? But just want to be sure everybody was aware of that.
Are you gonna do the one at the same time? You're gonna drop the one for the women's hockey?
Women's hockey team.
I'm glad you brought that up again. I need to work on that.
I mean, you might as well pass it soon.
Yes. We will draft one up for them as well.
Anybody else win a national championship this year? I know we had a lot of contestants.
Highway road striping, there are a couple of edits, most notably, I caught late today, the third whereas talks about the budget for the 2013 program. That will be changed to 2014. Didn't know if anybody had any questions before I move it to the back.
I guess I'm looking at 2014.
In the third whereas, both, yep, she got to it ahead of me. Good.
Okay.
So that will be resolved.
This is
Uh,
the resolution we're talking about?
Yes, right in the
Yeah,
resolution. Needed to be a change.
Deborah had already corrected.
Installation and energizing the street light, well, I didn't know she had,
Did the county change those prices all?
those would be the current rate. To be honest with you, I didn't go back and check previous rates. Jim does that. I'm sure it is what it is. I can't tell you if they went up or not. We don't have too many options there, but we get a good deal, and the county has been doing that for the town for years. That and signs really is a good shared service. The next one is the installation energizing the street light. Before we brought that to a resolution, I also wanted you to be aware. We had the request brought to us a while ago. I had asked that be put in writing to Art, which it has been, and he's reviewed the site, and we have a recommendation for that purpose. One of the other things that should be noted is that's also an intersection that would have a proposed, unofficial proposed street that connects back to the Grand Prix Way, so that would be an intersection as we continue to go forward. The whole design of that entrance was done in that fashion, and it is a darker stretch. So there's, I think there's some value warranted. Anybody have any concerns with that? If not, I'm going to pull it back into the fold. Then we go to the minutes. I did not get through them yet, so Tom, if you've seen something, let us know.
Yeah, I
Realize we're leaning on you too much for that.
Well, you know,
Everybody sees
somebody else
different
should read it
things.
because I make mistakes.
Well, we do, but you're pretty meticulous with that.
There's some,
And that's okay, as long as you let us know before Friday, you know.
Don't let us know tonight.
oh, well, at least on 104, I know it says seconded by, but the person that made the motion is not seconding. When you look down at the bottom,
The person who made the motion is not included in the second?
well, I wouldn't think so. By Gerard, seconded,
Seconded his own motion as you're concerned.
yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't usually
And
happen.
just take out Gerard's name?
Yeah, I would
I
think that
guess.
you'd want to do that.
the way we left that is it would be seconded by all counselors and he was just
Right,
included.
That's what I assumed, that's what I heard.
A lot of times it's a 50-50
You don't want to let
split.
them out.
No, but the motion is, he made the motion.
Yeah, but a lot of times when it's done in honor, it's a 50-50 split. You put 2 up top, 3 down bottom, just to, so.
Which we didn't do, but that
Yeah.
would have been a little
Cleaner-
cleaner
clean-
way
cleaner way to do it.
Totally agree.
Yep.
How many years have you been on this board? That's good. You're picking up some good things. I hesitate to change that because it wasn't done that way. We want to make note of that for the future. Thank you.
So is that what you wanna do? You wanna put
I-
it on top?
Well, we didn't do
Yeah.
that, so we really can't, but we can take Gerard's name off, so he's not down twice. He made the motion, he doesn't second his own motion.
Right.
But in the future, we'd go 2 and 3.
Well, I have to check again, but that's solid.
Don't look in there.
No, that's,
Don't look anymore, yeah. Good point.
the goal's not to find things, to identify things that exist. You've got our dog control officer's report.
Yep.
There'll be a resolution for that. The contract for the pump station, I found a couple things in that. I don't know if Debbie changed them before she sent it out, but there are some errors in the first whereas, just in the language, copy and paste to death. One of the things I thought, is that the one next time? So that will be edited and on for April.
So I don't need to tell you all the mistakes in it?
You don't have to, I'd prefer you email them to me.
I don't like typing out the whole thing again.
No, you don't have to, just, or come in, would be good. Budget amendments. We need to pass this evening. And this would be resolution 109. Because we don't meet again until April 7th.
Gotta get it in this quarter.
We need to get it in now. This would be redated for March 24. And it would be resolution 109, 2013 fund budget amendments.
Whereas certain line items have been overspent in the general, highway, streetlight, and water and sewer fund budgets during the year 2013 fiscal year. And whereas budget amendments will be offset from the existing budget line items for the 2013 budgets. Therefore, be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, authorize the following budget amendments as so noted. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, highway superintendent, building and maintenance supervisor, and water and wastewater director.
Have a motion.
These are all,
Can I get a motion first, get on the table, then we'll
I'll
have a
make a
discussion?
motion.
Mr. Mannix, do I have a second?
second,
Mr. Wood, now, discussion.
these are all what Pat needed to do to put the books in order.
Yeah, some lines, the budget was not overspent. There were certain lines within, for example, the general fund, the highway, where the year's expenses didn't match what we had projected, so we had to balance that. For example, on the highway, the town roads personnel service, the 21,000 is because of excess cost for snow removal. When we have a lot of storms, and if it goes beyond what we projected and budgeted with overtime, it triggers an expense. And this,
At the rate we're going, we might have to budget more for this.
well, and
This year's gonna be,
we may have budgeted more and still may have not budgeted
I don't
enough.
know,
Time will tell. But that's you know, one of the things that can happen. You need each to come out even, and you make your best guess. You'll notice there are some that, I won't get into any detail, HIPAA potential concerns, but individuals may change their insurance policies along the way. They may get married, they may have a child, they may have a child come back who is age eligible to be put on their insurance. So the rates change, and it may change what we budgeted with our, you know, the best information we have. This year, we're all excited, we'll start the budget process earlier. All that means is you have less concrete knowledge about your expenses for the year you're currently in because you backed it up. So, you know, we've done this every year, every business, every municipality has to go through those things.
And you will know, if you go through the numbers all add up. Okay, for example, I mean, some of them are very simple. The town clerk, for example, there's a $40 increase in the social security line, there's a $40 decrease in subscriptions. Because there was $40 over there in the subscription account, so they took it out of there,
It's just
satisfied that.
Yeah. The increases and the decreases for each department will balance, they have to balance.
Yeah.
One that might catch your eye under electricity, why were we $54,450 off with our budget? The reason for that, we had budgeted an anticipated closing with NYSEG for the purchase of the streetlights that didn't happen as fast as we had anticipated. As a result, waiting for that final closing, we had to pay some rentals on poles that we weren't paying for, hadn't anticipated. So that's why that one is so large.
In addition, they got an increase in their charge approved by the Public Service Commission that we got hit with.
We had to pay.
Yeah,
Bernie, I'd like to just editorialize.
they don't have a 2% cap, by the way, just in case anybody was.
One of the interesting things that, you know, we're constantly gonna find as elections come and they go is members are voting on things that they don't have their fingerprints on. This certainly isn't something I have my fingerprints on. But I think it's, when I observe that, or when I review this, it goes back to some conversations that I've had with Pat and others, that I really feel that we should be going out to bid on things like our general supplies. There are, whether it be sticky notes, paper clips, you know, a lot of these bulk items that we know that we're gonna go through an X factor per year and make sure that we're getting a better price for these types of things. I think it helps with our purchasing power. I think it helps with even, you know, collaborative services with other municipalities, etc. And it's one less line item that we're going back to the public and saying, well, you know, we got to do it because everybody has to do it. That's not a line that flies very well in the public's face. I think that we have to do everything that we can on every item to make sure that we're as close to the dollar as possible. And I think that's one way we can do it in that particular
And it gets us, we get away, we've talked about this also in the highway department, in the water and sewer department, et cetera. We get away from these crazy $4.95 purchase orders. You know, we go in and we, you know, we sit down, we go through 2013's purchase orders and take a look at that and put together a large purchase order that will satisfy what we see necessary for, we'll say 2015. And we go out to bid, and we're gonna order that. And, you know, they hold it. We request it as we need it. And, you know, we get a good price.
As long as we have something within our agreement that we're not gonna be charged some type of stocking fee or, you know, things like that.
That's all part of your, RFP.
At the joint town and city meeting, Pat and the representative of the city, we talked about that very thing. The city had the same thing, they're buying Pat here, buying it from, it's just, you know, a lot of vendors and so forth, that if you consolidate the buying power of the town and the city, you can save a lot of money, and as you say, you're not doing a purchase order for, you know, $4.30.
It's crazy.
And being on the audit committee, this is some of the stuff that I'm seeing that we, you know, we can kind of shrink that down. There is going to still be from time to time, as Bernie was mentioning, that, you know, someone has a child or, you know, someone gets married, that healthcare costs and things change. But what can we do to make sure that we're collapsing some of these other lines and making sure that we're getting the best bang for a buck?
Yep.
Okay, duly noted. We will continue with that. Any other discussion on this
I
resolution?
kind of like to see that, I mean, hopefully we can get that moving with the cooperation so that we could do some bulk buying.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll have to go out to bid, but, you know, if we send dollars out to bid beforehand, then we're not gonna do anything jointly, you know, obviously.
No, there's no reason to prevent us. I used the word 2015, Tom. There's no reason for us not to be able to plan and go out, say in the fall of the year for 2015, jointly with the city.
Well, I mean, there's even some stuff like when we look at, it's my understanding that water, there was a particular fixture for the pipes that we decided to streamline and say, okay, all future pipes are gonna have this particular fixture. Well, that's
Standardized.
Yeah, standardize it. That may also be a conversation to have with the city, because now too, if we need a piece and it's gonna be $500 emergency shipping or something like that, we can turn to the city and say, hey, can we know that you got on your shelf over there the piece that we need, can we have it for the 3 days until the thing arrives and we're not paying any extra on the dollar for those types of things?
Yep. Well, I think, yeah, I think that is one of the byproducts that we all discovered. There are things that were going on between departments, but with departments acknowledging that their governance, both municipalities want those kinds of things to happen, it'll be okay to have those transactions. There was a degree of hesitancy before. There were certain things people wanted to do they didn't feel they could. There were things they were doing that I suspect they weren't saying a lot about because they might have gotten in trouble if they had. But it's all about trying to control your budget. And, it is a new day, and Pat having a chance to sit down with, I can't remember her name from the city, from their finance department, really, you know, had some value. But one of the things he's going to do, I mean, those vouchers drive me nuts, but there's also a process you have to follow to be compliant with the comptroller's office and regulation. And boy, everything that's bought, even if it's $1.82, we got to document. We tried using credit cards to lump some of those small hardware store items so we have a single payment. And that's got mixed reviews.
We're using a credit card or procurement card?
A credit card. Literally a credit card, go in, put it on account, and we have a lot of that happens within our departments, where we have an account, for example, at Hobart's, and our can go in and get his needed part, at Hulbert's goes on the town's account, and water sewer can go in, and whoever, and then we get a bill. But then our finance office has got to take that bill and disaggregate it. And you'll see vouchers that way that are split up, because the total bill from Hulbert's might be $700, and 100 goes here, and 250 goes there, and $1.82 goes over here. And those accounts have to have a paper trail to track them down to a bill. So you're always in the minutia, no matter what you do. The idea, and somebody mentioned at the meeting, using even BOCES to piggyback with, and my toes kind of cringed on that, because I've seen BOCES bulk order, and I've seen the masking tape that was cheap because they didn't put sticky on one side of it. It was absolute garbage, throw it away, scissors that didn't cut, absolute junk. And that's why we have a best value. Cheap is not always best value, and many times it's synonymous with the opposite. But we can't legally get on their coattails now. We followed up with that. We can't. But we certainly can with the city. And I do think, Marty, there are a number of products we could take order in advance, be it stickies and clips and things where a large bulk, and one of our crew picks up the 5 cases for the town and the 7 for the city, and they drop them, and we're both done for a while.
Well, I mean, we have other towns, that border us though too. I think that, great to establish a relationship with the city. But, if there's somebody that borders us and wants to play ball, let's do it. I mean, I want the best price. I don't care who we're doing it with.
Usually the higher the volume, you're getting better price.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you will get into an issue of, do you want it now, or do you want it, to be time released, or you're gonna pay somebody a shelf charge to have it. We don't want to get a, backup of stock that begins to age and things change, and so it's, but anyway, we're on the right track, and it all makes sense, and it is things we're looking at. Anything else with Resolution 109? We have a motion, a second. Can we get a roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Mike Cashman?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, that resolution passes. Next, we have the one for the collective bargaining agreement. Would you like to bring that to a vote this evening?
No.
Or have it show up on April 7th?
April 7th.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, I'd like to do some more work with it.
So we'll put that on the docket for April 7th. Next is a draft, can certainly stay a draft, the reappointment of Ms. Rowden. She had been away a while. She was contacted and would absolutely love to continue to serve as a member of the town's Board of Ethics.
There's no reason why we can't wait till the 1st of April.
Right, that's absolutely, it's set for April 7th. I just want to be sure everybody's comfortable with that appointment. Access to personnel files, we need to amend to remove the budget officer, principal account clerk, which was Diane. She no longer will be here. And as you all know, we will be eliminating that position. So we'll be downsizing in the budget office.
Bernie, do we?
It would be the principal account clerk, it's not the budget officer.
They were one and the same in the past, and we just had the principal account clerk as the title was in the policy, so we'll amend the policy. And the finance manager was approved by the board to be, have access to those files in previous resolution. Bless you.
Will she be drawing down
Yes.
benefits? So are we able to close the position while she's drawing?
Yeah, I think we're okay. There are enough of us that can access that. She won't be on site, so we just take away that position's right to access personnel files.
I see, okay.
I think right now we have at least 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay, I assume we're all on board. Next is periodic estimate number 1 on the well drilling. This is fine for April. One of the things, and Gerard's not here unfortunately, you'll notice there was a initial change in the voucher. And the reason for that, the contractor had forgotten to remove the retainage. We had a discussion about that, and bonds for certain projects. This particular project does have a retainage, and that was backed off, and that's why that was changed. They forgot, but we caught it. And I'm sure you know by now, Mike, anything that's requiring action that is from a department such as this, I always take it to the department first and get written sign off by the department. It enables them to approve that it's ready, the work's done as indicated, they're the closest to it. It also keeps them knowledgeable of their own budget. They have some control over how to code it. And by the time this gets through to the budget office, we actually have things coded in the right spot. That was a huge problem just a few years ago, with departments not knowing certain bills are being paid out of their budgets because they weren't in the loop. We would get a bill and we'd approve it to the best of our knowledge, and maybe there was some issues that were still outstanding and the department wished we hadn't gone quite as fast as we did. And the budget office didn't always know which projects certain payments were linked to. So they weren't able to keep a good running log on funds that had been tagged for particular projects. I mean, it's all stuff we don't really talk about, but it was a huge problem. And I think we've got everybody on board now, and we've really cleaned it up. President's Award, we discussed that. I don't have a copy of the letter here, but you'll have that, I guess, for April 7th. Debbie just tried to save paper. There's absolutely no change. She doesn't always give you a new copy. I try to encourage her, it's worth a piece of paper. I wouldn't want to have to piece it back together. But if there are attachments, for example, with the well and this periodic estimate, we won't duplicate all the background stuff. I mean, that really is.
But I always ask where it is.
It's in the, and we always tell you it's in the draft that you got the week before. So, I can say that again if you'd like. The beautification resolutions will be for next time, and actually kind of pulling them back into my packet.
They're starting when? The 5th of May? Or in April?
What does he have in his letter that he was like?
May 5, was it?
May 5 is the assumption, the snow will be gone, maybe they'll be shoveling snow. That's probably traditional, so we might get there. This coming weekend, we're supposed to hit 40s, high 40s, maybe even 50.
Really? I've heard rain and snow.
No, weather's warming. Street light installation will be in there, I guess we're comfortable with that one. And we did the chargebacks already, and then we had the striping program. Where did I miss that? Okay, anybody have anything else? If not, we all get to go home at 8:27.